Hi, I'm Naomi and I am a debtor. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you for asking me, Alex. It's good to see some familiar faces as well. Um, so step 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. I've talked to a couple of newcomers this week, and one of the first things they said to me is, am I going to have to make amends? I don't want to make amends. And what I've said to them is, luckily, that comes much further along in the program. You know, that's step 8 and 9. And then there's a reason it's step 8 and 9 is because, of course, you're not ready when you first come in to make amends to other people. I mean, my experience is that when I came into this program, I was in chaos, drama, vagueness, and I'd realized enough to know that I was somehow, you know, I was the common denominator in that, but not enough to know how it was all happening and how it was being caused, you know, and I definitely felt harmed by other people, um, and in a sense, in some senses, you know, I was that is true. However, through working through the steps before getting to step 8, I realized that actually I also caused a lot of harm to myself and other people. And that was really important to see. Um, and you know, the steps, it's a process. It's like it's this beautiful journey that we go on where it gradually reveals the truth, you know? Like I wasn't ready for the step 8 truth when I was on step 1, you know? That I had to have that process and that going through the preceding steps to get to that point. So getting to step 8, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, there are some things that have been done to me, and I personally think that is important to recognize where, especially just in my upbringing, for example, which, you know, my parents were just doing the best that they could with their trauma and their defective upbringing. They didn't mean to, you know, to cause me harm, but harm was caused. And I picked up a lot of patterns. Like my stepfather was an entrepreneur. He was always on this boom bust cycle, loads of money, no money, you know, and I picked up that pattern and I just repeated that. I was constantly on this cycle of um, making a big chunk of money and then spending without any thought or consideration for the future or my actual true needs, and then running out of money, starting to debt, feeling very desperate, making a chunk of money, feeling relief, paying off all the debt and doing it all again. You know, that was just something that I learned. And it's really important to recognize, oh, you know, I learned this. It's not me, it's not who I am. This is something that I learned and I can do something different. Um, so I'm just giving an example of the type of patterns that I picked up. And then, so in step 8, where what I had to do is put aside what had been done to me and look at what the harm that I had done to myself and others. And that doesn't mean that they are, you know, that they don't have a part, they do. But I'm looking at my part, my side of the street in step 8. And it's a very freeing process to do that, because one of I my mother parentified me as a child, so she made me kind of like into her partner, and so I was an adult as a child, and what that meant was that I stayed a child as an adult. And so a big part of my journey has been in really growing up, you know, my DA journey has been about actually growing up, taking responsibility for my life. And, you know, the character defects to me are natural instincts that are either underdeveloped or overdeveloped. And in some areas, I had a very overdeveloped sense of responsibility, you know, where I was actually taking responsibility for what is other adults' business, you know. And in other areas, I was taking an under responsibility for myself and what was my business. And so, you know, one of the things that became obvious is I felt entitled to my parents' money. You know, I felt entitled to my mother's money. And I really saw in the preceding steps, like, it's not my money. She's an adult. I'm an adult. She wants to give me some money. That is her prerogative. But I'm not entitled to that money. And it doesn't, I'm one of four on that, on my mother's side. It doesn't have to be fair. You know, just because she's given money to my brother does not mean she needs to give money to me, because we're all adults, you know, and actually it's entirely up to her what she does with her money. And that was really freeing to see that and see where my entitlement over what isn't my money or wealth had brought a lot of disturbance into the relationship. So so seeing my side of what, just setting out what my side of the street is. And by the way, in step 8, it's just becoming willing. It's become willing when I don't have to make the amends. That's step 9. That's, you know, but it's just listing down all the places where I'm kind of like, you know what, I have done harm to other people through this behavior, like entitlement, like self-pity, like not taking full responsibility for myself and expecting somebody else to do that, like dishonesty, you know, where all the places where I'd been dishonest because I couldn't ask for my true needs, you know. That was really painful to see, where actually one of my biggest patterns is I don't feel like I can ask for my needs. And if I don't actually acknowledge, even first step, acknowledge my needs and then ask for them, that always leads to dishonesty for me in some form. Whether that means taking things from other people that isn't mine to take, whether that means causing drama and chaos because actually I haven't asked for what I need, or simply, like, you know, I worked for somebody who'd set me
2
up in
minutes,
business.
Naomi.
Thank you, Richard. I'd worked for somebody who set me up in business, and then after a year it became obvious that he was benefiting more from the deal than I was. Instead of just saying, hey, we need to renegotiate, I just started to underhand take things, like pulling things, you know. And it's really powerful to recognize, well, that was where instead I couldn't ask for what I truly needed. So the step 8 process, again, it's just that willingness to actually list all those things. We don't have to do it yet, and that's important, being scrupulously honest. And where you know, where myself, for example, my debting behavior, the person who's most harmed definitely has been me, you know, where I have really I've undervalued my talents. I have negated my own needs. I have negated my own feelings. I've put myself in situations that were dangerous sometimes, and definitely unkind, through, you know, self-debting. So recognizing all those places where I've also you know, really harmed myself through this debting behavior. Just really, really powerful. And so scrupulous honesty is needed, and just the willingness to be honest in this step, not worrying about what's coming next, you know, but just sitting in this step, which is I'm going to make a list of all the persons that I have harmed. Thank you. I'll leave it there.